Today, we visit the one-time Queen of the Skies. The engines have spooled down for the very last time, and never again will this old girl take flight and bask in the sun in a sea of blue. The last passenger has deplaned, and the crew has gone home. Come with me as we visit the airplane graveyard on the Planet Traveler. Hey guys, have you ever wondered what happens to an airplane after it makes its final flight? Obviously it's retired, but best case scenario, that airplane will end up in a museum like the Concorde or the Space Shuttle. But I'm not here to talk about the best case scenario, I want to talk about the worst. Now the 747 is arguably the most iconic aircraft in the history of aviation. So you would think that something as majestic and as beautiful as that would end up in a museum. And in some cases it has. But I'm here to talk about a particular 747 that took a much different path, a path not quite as pretty. So let's get into it. Tucked away in what could only be termed as a sleepy little suburb in the crazy city of Bangkok is a secret. It's a grand secret. It's so grand that unless you are already looking for it, you will give pause when you stumble upon it because it doesn't belong there. I'm talking about none other than Bangkok's Airplane Graveyard. This graveyard is home to the partial fuselage of two aircrafts. One is a McDonnell Douglas craft, an MD-80 of some sort, which is cool. But I guarantee that when you come here, you will want to focus your attention on the other aircraft, the Boeing 747. No doubt, the aircraft has seen better days, but don't let that stop you from coming. To get to the graveyard, there are a variety of options, but I think the best option is to go by ferry. Bangkok is a place that is very hot, so for me, the best option is the coolest one, which is the public ferry. Unfortunately, the coolest option is also the smelliest option. I won't elaborate, but if you go this route, you will eventually see, or should I say, smell what I mean. Roughly 30 minutes later, I found myself getting off at a temple. It was a quiet temple, and I suddenly felt very relaxed as I passed through. After I walked through the temple, I found myself walking on a very quiet street, which led me to a busier street. I didn't have internet, so I was pretty much winging it to get to the graveyard. Okay, so I have no idea where I'm going. Based on what I read on the internet, it seems pretty simple to find the airplane graveyard. Funny thing is, people don't seem fazed to see me, a foreigner, walking around here. And I don't get the feeling that I'm out of place, so they must know what I'm here for. I think we'll find it. We'll figure it out. Literally, a few minutes after I said I didn't know where I was going, the airplane ran up and smacked me in the face. It wasn't hard to find at all. The 747 sits in a barren field and it towers over just about everything in the area. I suddenly became very excited. The entire time, I kept thinking, why this place? Why put a beat up Boeing 747 here? Didn't matter. I was glad they did. As soon as I walked up to the gate, I was greeted by a young girl. She told me it would cost 200 baht to go in. I quickly paid and headed in. I took a few minutes to admire the urban art displayed on the aircraft before I headed in. You know, I stand corrected about what I said. This is not an airplane graveyard. This is actually a museum. I paid 200 baht to get in here. It's ran by a family. They say they're squatters. I don't know, but they seem pretty nice. And the way they have it set up, you can totally explore this airplane. But yeah, I'm going in to this beautiful 747 to see what kind of secrets we can find something out about its history. So let's go in. The way into the aircraft is through the cargo hold. They have the cargo door partially open. All right, so first things first, we're going in via the cargo bin. The door has been cracked open
It's this is where the containers are loaded on the aircraft. The floor is very decrepit, so I'll have to exercise caution going in here because definitely don't want to get injured. Here's some jagged edges over here. All right, so there's something I didn't know, but there's a ladder that goes from the cargo hold up into the cabin. So we're gonna do that now. I'm gonna have to take this backpack off. The hole is very small. There's no way I can get in here with my backpack on, so I'm gonna have to take that off. Now, if you're not a small guy, this is not an easy hole to get through. Couldn't get through with my backpack. I had to take that off. So just be prepared for a squeeze if you want to explore the 747. It is very tight for a non-skinny person.
I managed to squeeze into the small hole that led into the cabin. The cabin looked desolate and lonely. It looked more like a warehouse than it did as an aircraft that once transported 400 people.
So we have made it into the cabin, the main cabin of the aircraft. This is actually where first class would be. Over here, I can't get over there. There's a bunch of debris. Well, maybe I can. Let's see if I can squeeze in there. So over here used to be my favorite seat in first class. Right here was a closet, and right here had like a little countertop. You could put your stuff over here, and over here was your seat. Awesome seat on the 747. I was so sad to see when my company retired it because awesome airplane, but expensive to operate. That's why they retired it. But yeah, this is first class. The main cabin. Sorry, I got distracted there. Thought I was looking at snakeskin. The main cabin, which is in the back over here, is gone. I don't know where the rest of the fuselage is. It's just the front half of the airplane. The rest of it is cut off. But anyway, there's enough of it left still to be awestruck. This is incredible. So moving on through this 747, we see what's left of the galley. This is where delicious food was served. As you can see, that was back in the day because there is like nothing. The galley carts would go in here, but that was long ago. And most people, when they fly on 747 in first, they like to fly in the upper deck. These are the stairs that lead to the upper deck. Now I can tell you, this airplane has seen better days. A lot of this floor is dilapidated and decrepit, but these stairs are the most sturdy or the most stable thing on this airplane because you need to watch where you step, but these stairs are pretty sturdy. Let's head up to the upper deck.
I moved up to the upper deck. There was nobody else in the plane at the time. I had the whole plane to myself. The upper deck was just as much in despair and lonely as the lower deck, just not quite as big. I walked through the cabin and admired this marvel wonder, amazed how something so grand could be left for waste. It just seemed so sad.
But interesting enough, the overhead compartments are still intact up here. Let's open one up and see what's in here. Hope there's not a snake. All right, no snakes, just old water bottles and a bunch of dust. Anyway, that's where you stow your bags. Also, cool thing about first class, you had this little side compartment right here on the 747. You can put your stuff in there, your shoes. It's pretty cool.
I continued my venture deeper and deeper into the aircraft. At one point, I stopped to examine and admire the skin of the plane. It was at that point I realized how fragile airplanes really are. It's only a thin sheet of metal that keeps the plane pressurized at 40,000 feet.
So now we're going to head on to the main attraction, talking none other than the cockpit. This is a hella old airplane. The way you know that is this airplane has a flight engineering station. They got rid of that back in the 80s. So this airplane is hella old. And you can also see here the throttle controls. They still work with the reversers. Pretty cool. But all the avionics and the flight controls, they're gone now. But still pretty impressive. And there's also an escape hatch for emergency purposes, as you can see up there. So yeah, this is pretty awesome. Over here, let's see if I can get you over there. I'm standing in the way, but this is the toilet. This is where you would use the bathroom. Pretty cramped, especially for today's standards. But this is interesting to show you how dated this aircraft is. Take a look at this. This is an overhead projector. An overhead projector. This is back in the day when you didn't have your personal in-flight entertainment system. They would show movies and everybody watched the same movie. Who does that nowadays? I'm sure there's an airline that does.
After spending about 3 or 4 hours at the airplane graveyard, I took one last look at the flight deck. I admired what was left of the flight controls, which wasn't much. If I had thought about it at the time, I would have grabbed a souvenir. The flight engineering station laid barren, as did the lavatory. Before I left, I made my way towards the edge of the fuselage that had been cut off just to admire the sheer height of the 747. No doubt, I was up high. A lot of people like to sit at the edge and take pictures here.
Okay guys, I'm gonna take a second and do something that I always wanted to do. Now, unless you're a flight attendant or airline personnel, you may not appreciate this, but if you are, I'm sure you'll appreciate this. Cabin secure, all call.
The airplane graveyard is a nice alternative to the touristy things normally done in Bangkok. It takes a bit of an effort to get there, but not much, and it's well worth it.
So the next time you're in Bangkok and you're looking for something different to do, take a trip out to the airplane graveyard. Actually, I wouldn't even call it a graveyard. I would call it more like a museum, because that's the way it's set up. It's gated. You got to pay to get in. It's about 200 baht, $5 or $6, but it's well worth it. I mean, I literally spent hours just exploring this graveyard. The 747 is amazing. I mean, I work around airplanes and I have never gotten a chance to explore an airplane like I explored this one. You know, so it's well worth the money. So the next time you're here, make sure you come out and visit the graveyard. Good job.